REI has ultralight backpacking gear. So for you gram counters and ounce shavers, we made this ad ultralight with a base weight of just 13 seconds. The next 17 seconds, pure trail. Find more with less in-store and at rei.com.
What is judgment, and why does feeling judged feel so unpleasant? And then, beyond that, how can you figure out what to do when you feel judged without causing a bigger issue? If you're ready to stop feeling judged by others and want to learn how to deal with haters, then you're in the right place. Because that's what I'm talking about this week here on Let's Talk About Mental Health, the weekly podcast that makes mental health simple. Ready to learn how to let go of judgment? Then get comfortable and let's talk. Hello and welcome to episode 237 of Let's Talk About Mental Health, and thanks for joining me as I talk about judgment and mental health. I'm Godwin, and this isn't your regular podcast full of interviews and random opinions. I'm a mental health counsellor and writer, and each week I look at one specific aspect of better mental health, and I share simple and practical tips you can apply immediately, all based on quality research and my own experience of learning to live with anxiety and depression after a breakdown in 2011 that changed my life. In this episode, I'll be talking about what judgment is, why you need to handle judgment thoughtfully, and how to deal with judgment from others. So, let's talk. One of the things I don't particularly like about social media is that it seems to have created a culture where so many of us feel like we have to share our comments and opinions on absolutely everything. Which you don't, by the way. Leaving a review for a product on Amazon saying, "I haven't purchased this, but it looks good," is about as helpful to anybody else as a screen door on a submarine, or a chocolate teapot. In other words, it's useless and it makes me cranky, which is probably why I'm ranting about it here. Anyway, returning to my point, a lot of comments on social media tend to lean towards the judgmental. Actually, I think that's a massive understatement. And you only have to read the comment section on any high-profile account or TV show to see that most of the replies are more feral than a child raised by wolves. There seems to also be a very specific group of people who feel it's their duty to judge everyone and everything, as though they have all the answers and are the poster children for how to live, which they're not, because being judgmental of others tends to go hand in hand with being unkind and even cruel, neither of which are a healthy way to live. So, today's focus is going to be mainly on how to deal with feeling judged by others. However, I'm going to also say upfront that there's a big overarching message throughout today's episode, and that is to treat others the way you want to be treated. So, if you're prone to a little judgment sometimes, or a lot, then this is your opportunity to listen with an open mind and an open heart, so you can also think about what type of person you want to be moving forward. I can say hand on heart that it's absolutely possible to make a choice to change when it comes to judgment. A decade ago, I was a lot more judgmental than I am today. And although it's taken a lot of work to make those changes, I can say with complete confidence that it's definitely been worth it. Alright, so let's take a moment to get ourselves on the same page with some definitions, and let's talk about what is judgment. So, broadly speaking, judgment refers to the act of forming an opinion or conclusion about someone or something. It's often critical and negative, and it can potentially be based on a wide range of factors like appearance, behavior, personal attributes, beliefs, lifestyle choices, or even things that are completely beyond someone's control. Judgment can be both positive and negative. For example, you might admire someone's work ethic, which is a positive judgment, or disapprove of their lifestyle choices, which is a negative judgment. And judgment, or feeling judged by others, is something that we all encounter at various points in our lives. It's that moment when you feel scrutinized, criticized, or unfairly assessed by other people. And it feels like rubbish. And yet, it doesn't stop us from judging other people, does it? When we talk about judgment in a general sense, it's about our mental processes of evaluating people or situations. And it's something we all do, often unconsciously. You might judge someone based on their clothes, their accent, or their opinions, and that can be a quick, instinctive reaction, or a more considered assessment. In many ways, judgment is a natural part of human interactions, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Judgment can help us navigate social situations and make decisions, and it even keeps us safe. For example, by whether or not other people may be a threat to us. However, it becomes problematic when it turns into a persistent pattern of negative evaluation, especially when it's directed at others, or at yourself, or both. In a practical context, judgment often manifests in our everyday interactions. You might find yourself at a family gathering, and there's that one relative who always seems to have something negative and critical to say about your choices. Or perhaps it could be at work, where a colleague constantly undermines your ideas. These types of experiences of feeling judged can create a sense of unease, and they often serve to amplify your self-doubt, which is a topic I covered in episode 104. So, with all of that in mind, now let's talk about why you need to handle judgment thoughtfully. And, I tend to think you need to approach pretty much everything thoughtfully without overthinking it too much. But the main reason why judgment in particular is something to approach in a really considered way is that it's about picking your battles while also not turning it into something bigger, or at the other end of the spectrum, letting anyone walk all over you. It's about being assertive rather than aggressive or passive. Here's the thing. When you feel judged, you might start to question your worth or capabilities. You might even begin to avoid certain people or situations to protect yourself from further judgment. This kind of self-protective behavior is natural, but over time, it can limit your experiences and opportunities for growth. So the piece here is that judgment has a significant impact on your mental health and well-being, which is why you need to tackle it rather than just allowing yourself to be steamrolled by it. And let me be clear that I'm not saying you have to react to it. This is about responding thoughtfully, which could even include letting it be water off a duck's back or greeting it with a healthy dose of humour and a get lost before letting it go. And I'll explore how to tackle it shortly. The thing is that feeling judged can lead to a host of emotional responses, such as anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. So you don't want to just take it and let it potentially eat away at you. When it feels like others are constantly evaluating you negatively, it can eat away at your sense of self-worth and confidence, and that constant feeling of being judged can make you more self-conscious and hyper-aware of your actions, leading to stress and even social withdrawal. Over time, it can really affect your mental health by making you feel isolated and misunderstood. On the other side of the judgment coin, when you're the one judging others harshly, it can create a negative environment that affects everyone's mental health, because harsh judgments can strain relationships and create a cycle of negativity and mistrust. By contrast, when you approach others with empathy and understanding, it helps you to build and maintain healthier and more supportive relationships. I think that ultimately, it's crucial to remember the golden rule of life. Treat others as you want to be treated, and don't be a dick. Not only is it kinder and a more pleasant way to live, but it also leads to better relationships and a much more positive environment. When you choose to practice non-judgment, you're doing your part to make the world a better place by contributing to a culture of empathy and respect. And it's a kinder approach that benefits everyone, including yourself, because it encourages mutual understanding and support. Plus, ideally, it also makes you less tolerant of putting up with judgment from others and more inclined to stand up for yourself in a kind yet assertive way. So, focusing back on other people judging you, be very aware that it's a choice they're making to behave that way. And it says much more about who they are than it does you. Here's a little spoiler alert for life. Happy, satisfied, and contented people don't need to judge others or lash out at things they don't like, because they know that there are millions and billions of different ways to live, and it's up to each of us to figure out what's right for us. If someone isn't harming anyone, including themselves, if they're being kind, and if they're giving more than they take, then honestly, it's nobody's damn business how they live their lives. And anyone who wants to judge someone for simply being who they are, or because they don't like something they've said or done, well, they need to get a life. And they need to stop being such a dick. Judgmental people are not happy. And honestly, who cares what they have to say? Because I don't know about you, but I'm not taking on board the opinion of someone who isn't the kind of person I want to be like. End of sentence. Now, I'm well aware that sometimes the judgment is coming from much closer to home, like from family, friends, your partner if you have one. And I'm going to say this very loudly and clearly for the people all the way up the back in the cheap seats. Being close to you does not give someone permission to judge you. This is where it's about one dash of assertiveness mixed with one extra large dash of courage, because it can feel really challenging to address these types of things with the people we're closer to, but it's a lot better than putting up with crap. Because, and one more time for the cheap seats, you should never, ever, ever put up with crap. Not addressing judgment can result in chronic stress and dissatisfaction. Persistently feeling judged can lead to social anxiety, making it difficult for you to engage in everyday activities. It can also lead you to feel more isolated because you might withdraw from social interactions to avoid judgment. Over time, this isolation can contribute to depression and other mental health issues. So, if you're sick of putting up with crap from other people who don't have the common decency to keep their damn opinions to themselves, or if you're like Laganja Estranja and feeling very attacked right now, that's a Drag Race reference from season 6, in case any of you have never seen the show and couldn't work out what that random collection of words was that just came out of my mouth. Then now is the time to stand up for yourself and put a stop to being judged once and for all. So, how do you do that? Well, let's first take a quick break to hear from the brands who help me create this show each week.
Eczema is unpredictable, but you can flare less with Ebglyss. a once-monthly treatment for moderate to severe eczema. After an initial 4-month or longer dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
Good sleep is everything. That's why Ollie's Science Back Support is made with a blend of melatonin and L-theanine for both kiddos and grown-ups. So when your mind won't switch off, you've got something that can help. Your racing thoughts and restless nights won't stand a chance. Find Ollie Sleep Solutions for the whole family at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com.
Now streaming. Disney Plus invites you to go behind the scenes with Taylor Swift in an exclusive 6-episode docuseries.
I wanted to give something to the fans that they didn't expect.
The only thing left is to close the book.
The end of an era. And don't miss Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, the final show, featuring for the first time the Tortured Poets Department. Now streaming, only on Disney Plus.
And welcome back. Now let's get into the how-to part of today's episode, and let's talk about how to deal with judgment from others. Okay, first, don't take it personally. And I think I may have just heard one or two of you groan, since this is one of those ones that's easier said than done, but hear me out. The thing is that it isn't personal. It's not about you, it's about them. Sure, it feels personal, and maybe it's even directed straight at you, but it is 100% coming from that person and their view of the world, which has nothing to do with you. If someone is being discriminatory, for example, that's about them and their belief that they're better than some other group of people. And that's some deep-seated messed up stuff that goes way back and far beyond their interaction with you. So, step back and step away. Be like Homer Simpson in that meme where he quietly disappears backwards into the bushes. If you can't remove yourself, then try my next point, which is shut it down assertively. Also known as the firm but fair but not putting up with crap approach. This is when you take action and confront the individual. For example, when it's someone you're going to have to deal with again, like a family member. The first time it happens, you could say something like, I understand that you have your own perspective on this, but it's my life, so please respect my choices. If it then continues beyond that, then try saying something like, I've previously asked you not to share opinions like this with me, but it's still happening. If it continues, then I'll need to reconsider the nature of our relationship. And then if they're still not getting the message and are judging you like they're on the panel of a reality show, say something along the lines of, despite my repeated requests to keep your judgments and opinions to yourself, you continue to ignore me and I find that disrespectful. You can either stop this once and for all, or I will need to step back from our relationship. The choice is yours. So, the basic point here is to tackle it in a direct way, then to call out any repeated breaches as being repeated. If you're going to set some boundaries, then there need to be consequences for not sticking to them. I covered boundaries in episode 53 and assertiveness in episode 45 if you'd like to explore those topics more. Okay, next, don't stoop to their level. Look, I get it. the instinctive reaction can be to lash out and tear the judgmental person a new part of their anatomy with which to go to the bathroom with. But fighting fire with fire just leads to a bigger fire. Have you ever tried responding to something nasty that some buttface has left on a social media post? All it does is fan the flames, and there's just no reasoning with someone who is willing to judge another person, because they're completely and utterly convinced that they're right. So what are you going to do? Argue until you're blue in the face? Nobody wins, and sinking to their level just drags you down. Instead, choose to be the bigger person and walk away. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that you can't stick your middle finger up as you're walking away if it makes you feel better, but maybe just do it discreetly, okay? All right, so my next tip is block. Because you're always in control of who has access to you and what that access looks and feels like, and you don't have to put up with crap. So feel free to block instead of listening to judgmental rubbish. Obviously, it's a lot easier to block online than it is in real life, but either way, give yourself permission to make smart choices about who gets access to you. Okay, next, surround yourself with positive influences. The people you spend time with can greatly impact how you feel about yourself. So spend less time with negative and judgmental people and more time with positive people, which reinforces your self-worth and provides a supportive environment. Next, focus on your values. Staying true to your values can help you navigate judgment with confidence. When you're clear about what matters to you, other people's opinions hold less sway. This is about anchoring you in your own sense of right and wrong and providing a strong foundation to stand on. And I talked about how to figure out your values in episode 138. Okay, next, show yourself compassion. Being kind to yourself is crucial when you're facing judgment from others, because it builds resilience and shields you from the negative effects of external criticism. Try speaking to yourself in a supportive way, acknowledging your feelings without judgment, and reminding yourself of your intrinsic worth. Okay, next, let it go. Far from being just a song from a famous musical, Let It Go is a simple piece of advice with a lot of power. Do you really need to take on board the random opinions and judgments of other people? What's that? You don't? You're damned right you don't. Holding on to negative opinions can be draining and counterproductive, and so consciously letting them go helps to free up your mental energy for more positive and constructive thoughts. The simplest way to let go is to remind yourself that not every opinion matters, which it doesn't, and to give yourself permission to move forward with greater peace and confidence. Okay, next, develop a strong sense of identity, which is all about knowing who you are and what you stand for, both of which help you to be less susceptible to external judgments. You can develop this by exploring your interests, values, and beliefs and staying true to them. Engage in activities that resonate with you and spend time with people who support your authentic self. This strong foundation makes it easier to navigate the opinions of others without losing sight of your true self. Next, stay present, which helps you avoid getting lost in negative thoughts about past judgments or future criticisms, reducing anxiety and keeping you grounded in the current moment. You can stay present by practicing simple mindfulness techniques, like focusing on your breath or engaging fully in your current activity. This sense of being more present can help you respond more thoughtfully to judgment rather than reacting emotionally. Okay, next, practice gratitude towards your critics. So, this might seem a bit counterintuitive, but it's about shifting your mindset positively, and it allows you to see criticism as a tool for growth rather than a personal attack. You can do this by thanking your critics for their input, even if it's harsh. For example, you might say, "Thank you for your perspective, it's given me something to think about." This approach can disarm critics and helps you maintain a positive attitude. Okay, next, embrace imperfection. Guess what? You're not perfect. And guess what? Neither am I. Nobody is. Accepting that imperfection is part of being human can relieve the pressure to meet other people's expectations, and it reduces the fear of judgment by recognizing that everyone has flaws and makes mistakes. Try setting realistic expectations for yourself, choosing not to compare yourself to others, and celebrating your progress rather than perfection. Remind yourself that mistakes are opportunities for learning and growth, and that it's okay not to be perfect because nobody is. Next, practice forgiveness. So, forgiveness, both towards yourself and others, is a powerful tool in managing judgment. Holding on to grudges or self-criticism can weigh you down emotionally. Practicing forgiveness helps because it allows you to let go of negative emotions and move forward. You can practice forgiveness by acknowledging your feelings, understanding the reasons behind others' actions, and choosing to release resentment. This doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior, but instead, it's about freeing yourself from the hold it has on your emotions. Okay, next, choose to be non-judgmental yourself. So, if you've ever made it all the way to the end of one of my episodes, then you'll know I close by saying, make a conscious effort to share positivity and kindness out into the world because you get back what you put out, which you do. Negativity tends to attract more negativity, and positivity tends to attract more positivity. So make the choice to treat people the way you want to be treated, and you'll gradually attract more and more non-judgmental people to you. Because when it comes to judgment and mental health, what it all boils down to is this. Dealing with judgment is an inevitable part of life, but how you handle it can profoundly impact your mental and emotional well-being. Remember, the power to define your worth lies within you, not in the opinions of others. So focus on your journey instead of trying to live up to the demands of others, and choose to treat yourself with the kindness and compassion you deserve. The choice is yours, as it is with all things related to your well-being. So, what choice will you make today? Each week I like to finish up by sharing a quote about the week's topic, and I encourage you to take a few moments to really reflect on it and consider what it means to you. This week's quote is by an unknown author, and it is, "Judging a person does not define who they are. It defines who you are." Let me repeat that. Judging a person does not define who they are. It defines who you are. Alright, that's nearly it for this week. How do you deal with judgment from others? If you're on Spotify, scroll down and share in the Q&A section below. Otherwise, let me know on Instagram at LTA Mental Health or by commenting on the transcript, which you can have delivered to your inbox each week, along with my newsletter, Thursday Thoughts. Sign up at ltamh.com or use the link in the episode description. And discover more mental health tips on my other Instagram account, it's Jeremy Godwin, plus become a paid supporter on Patreon for early access to ad-free episodes. Next week, I'll be talking about learning to let go. The mental and emotional baggage we carry around with us And the things we take on board from others, like judgments and opinions, can really do a number on our mental health and general well-being if we don't learn how to process them and release them. And if we also don't understand that letting go doesn't just happen once, but many times. So next time, I'll be talking about what learning to let go really means, why you need to learn to let go more, and how to become better at letting go. That episode will be released on the 30th of June 2024, and I hope you'll join me for it. Hit follow on your podcast service and press the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Thank you very much for joining me today. Look after yourself and make a conscious effort to share positivity and kindness out into the world, because you get back what you put out. Take care and talk to you next time. Let's Talk About Mental Health is an independent program proudly produced by Reconnaissance Media. For more information, visit reconnaissancemedia.com.